So the portrait mode for the iPhone 7 Plus is out, and it's actually pretty convincing. I've taken some shots on it that at a glance rival that of a dedicated camera. It works by using the 7 Plus's dual camera setup to measure depth and apply a blur effect to the background to emulate the bokeh that a dedicated camera produces. But the real question is, how well does it do against the DSLR, or a mirrorless camera in this respect? Welcome back to Byte Review. Join me today as we compare the new iPhone 7 Plus's portrait mode to a Sony A7. In terms of fairness, I've used a 50mm lens on the camera, which is as similar as I can get to the 56mm lens that's on the iPhone 7 Plus, which I believe is the main camera used for the portrait effect. Also, before we get started, it is worth noting that the portrait feature on the iPhone is currently in beta, so there's a good chance it will get better with time. So let's get started with a standard portrait photo. This is the iPhone's, and well, hopefully in this photo you can see what the hype was about. This is a convincing shot. The background has been blurred nicely, while we keep our subject in focus really well. There's very slight inconsistencies, where it struggled to capture the hair and blurred it ever so slightly, and the lines around the face look pretty soft, but overall the effect is awesome here. It's not until you pop it directly against the A7 that you'll notice any huge differences. Obviously all the hair details and face edges are no worries here, and the bokeh effect is a lot smoother. But remember, the blur isn't effect on here, it's how the lens and camera work, so what you're seeing is the actual photo as it was produced. Nothing has been run through the program like on the iPhone. Side by side it's easier to tell the difference, but overall not bad at all from the iPhone. Let's look at another shot. You can see here again that the effect is really rather good, although it has decided that part of the table should be blurred out too. When zoomed in you can see it's had a little trouble defining the edges of the camera, but zoomed out it's not something you'd notice. Switching over to the A7, and the main thing you'll notice here are the bokeh balls. I hung some fairy lights for this test and you can see that the A7 shows them off nicely, but switching back to the iPhone you'll see that they pretty much disappear. This is one of the areas where the iPhone depth effect really doesn't perform too well. The same can be said for this photo too, but like I said before, as this is a beta, there's a good chance that Apple will improve the bokeh effect for lights. However, remove the lights from a photo and you get something that looks really nice. This photo is one of the more successful of the bunch. The background is blurred nicely and the effect feels quite natural and gradual. Again, it's only until you zoom in do you realise that the edges of the leaves do have a strange glow to them. The A7 clearly does better here when zoomed in, showing a lovely blur to the leaves that aren't in focus. But put the two together and I still think the iPhone holds its own. It's not perfect, but fully zoomed out you'd have to look really hard to notice. If the iPhone struggles a little with hair, then I thought it'd be worth testing with fur. As you can see here, at a glance it doesn't look too bad and the background has a good blur to it, but taking a closer look shows off that strange glow around the head. Presumably it's where the blur effect has started to kick in. There's no outline of course on the A7, but there is a hint of chromatic aberration. Looking at hard lines in this next photo, and as you can see the iPhone does a much better job when the edges of a subject are easy to define. That aside, it has wiped off the little Mega Man's face, which is a bit of a shame. This could be because the colour of the face is similar to the background, as the rest of him is in good focus. Again, there's no such issue on the A7. So this seems to be the theme. The iPhone struggles with an object that doesn't have a defined edge. You can see the same thing here. Zooming into the donut shows off those rough edges and the slight glow of the effect kicking in. Bokeh balls are also quite hard to come by, as we can see one quite obviously here in the A7 shot. But if I'm honest, it was obvious which one was going to look better. A dedicated camera is pretty much always going to beat out a smartphone camera. However, it is worth noting that if most of these photos taken with the portrait effect go onto Instagram or something similar, it's very unlikely you'll zoom in to see exactly how good the details are. Couple that with the screen size, and as far as your friends are concerned, you've taken an awesome shot. And for some people, that's going to be more than good enough for their social media. For best results, I found that making sure your subject has a clear separation from the background produces the best looking effect, or to simply ensure that the background is distant from your subject. Faces tend to work a lot better than objects as well. So that just about rounds us up for the iPhone 7 Plus portrait mode test. Thanks again for watching, and let me know what you think of the effect in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, do stick around and I will see you all in the next one.